Tlacotalpan is a town in the Mexican state of Veracruz. Declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1998, primarily for its architecture and colonial era layout. The town was established in 1550 on what was originally an island in the Papaloapan River. The name Tlacotalpan is a Spanish modification of the Nahuatl word Tlacotalpan, which means land between the waters.
Oh, no necesito ahora, gracias. Ahorita no. Posiblemente más tarde.
Ok, aquí lo esperamos.
¿Y es de aquí?
Ok, gracias.
Sí, adiós.
Not much is known about the pre-Hispanic history of the area, but it's believed it was originally inhabited by the Totonacs. These were later displaced by the Toltecs in the 12th century. In 1461, Moctezuma Ilhui Camina began the Aztecs' first efforts to expand here, then controlled by the Cotaxlan Dominion. In 1475, Axayacatl conquered it along with Coixtlahuaca, Toctepec, and Cosamaloapan, giving all these areas their current names. In 1518, Pedro de Alvarado led an expedition sailing up the Papaloapan area, and in 1521, Hernan Cortez sent Gonzalo de Sandoval here to search for gold. After the conquest in 1521, Alfonso Romero received the area as an encomienda. An encomienda was a Spanish labor system that rewarded conquerors with the labor of particular groups of conquered non-Christian people. The laborers, in theory, were provided with benefits by the conquerors for whom they labored, the Catholic religion being a principal benefit. In the current municipality, in a place then called Cuanapa Ayotzinapa, Cortez set up the first sugarcane mill in Mexico in 1532. In 1550, it was granted by the Spanish king to Gaspar Rivadeneyra, on which he kept livestock. He could not prevent fishermen from establishing the town, but he required them to build a chapel dedicated to Our Lady of Candlemas. Colonization of the area was slow, with only 12 Spaniards in 1544, and no more than 320 by 1777. Figures on other populations during the colonial period are missing, but in 1808 there were 1,156 indigenous inhabitants and 1,616 pardos, or people of indigenous and African heritage. At the beginning of the 17th century, there was an attempt to subordinate the area to Cosamaloapan, but the indigenous here resisted it successfully. In the 17th century, it became a commercial center for surrounding haciendas. which led to growth in its Spanish population. Its wealth and status as a port attracted English pirates in the 17th and 18th centuries, and the city was burned down once by them in 1667. In 1714, the Tlacotalpan flooded and forced the movement of the city to its current location, then called Chuniapa. The town suffered 3 other major fires in 1698, 1788, and finally in 1790. The last 2 prompted authorities to require rebuilding with stone walls, tile roofs, and the establishment of open spaces with trees. Those who could not rebuild in this fashion were forced to move to the eastern part of the town, which had more relaxed requirements. Most of the oldest buildings to date from this time and determined the common style of large houses with courtyards, tile roofs, and arched passages. The municipality's territory was fixed by the end of the 18th century. Tlacotalpan reached its height as a port city in the 19th century. At the beginning of this century, French, German, and Italian immigrants came to the area to plant and weave cotton to be sold in English markets. Starting in 1821, Tlacotalpan experienced economic growth as a port for products from Oaxaca and Puebla, going to Veracruz and abroad to New Orleans, Havana, and Bordeaux. By 1855, it was home to 18 steamships and a large sailing ship which transported timber, tobacco, cotton, grain, sugar, brandy, leather, salted meat, crocodiles, heron feathers, furniture, and soap. In 1825, one of Mexico's first nautical colleges was opened, founded by Guadalupe Victoria. In 1847, Tlacotalpan was officially declared a town in recognition of its participation in the defense against U.S. forces in the Mexican-American War. In 1864, the town was taken by French forces under Maréchal, one day after taking Alvarado. Later that same year, Republican forces under Alejandro Garcia retook the area. In 1865, it was declared a city and provisional capital for its resistance against the French. In 1879, Miguel Chazaro founded Veracruz's third preparatory school. Here, Porfirio Diaz organized an uprising against the government of Sebastián Lerdo de Tejada, which led to a name change of Tlacotalpan de Porfirio Diaz in 1896. This was changed to the current version after the Mexican Revolution. At the beginning of the 20th century, the town had built 8 schools, 3 hotels, 9 factories, and 100 single-storied houses. However, in the first part of the 20th century, Tlacotalpan's importance as a port, which had sustained it since the colonial period, waned with the construction of the Ferrocarril del Istmo Railroad. Its population grew only slightly from 1950 to 1980 and has remained stable since then at around 9,000 inhabitants. In 1968, conservation efforts began when Tlacotalpan was declared a typical city of Mexico by the state of Veracruz. In 1986, it was declared a historic monument zone by the federal government to be managed by the Instituto Nacional de Antropología y Historia, the INAH, and the Instituto Nacional de Bellas Artes, INBA. In 1985 and 1997, a transition zone was established, which includes areas across the river, which serves as a buffer to the main conservation area. In 1998, it was named a World Heritage Site by UNESCO for its history as a river port, its architecture, and its traditions in poetry, music, and dance. In the intense festival calendar of Mexico, the celebration of the Virgen de la Candelaria in Tlacotalpan is a must. From January 31st to February 2nd, thousands of people crowd the streets of this beautiful place during this festival. Most of the Tlacotalpeños open their houses to accommodate thousands of visitors. During the days of the fair, the national meeting of Jaraneros and Versadores will be held in Plaza Doña Marta. 56 groups are considered in the program. Each one will have a participation of 10 to 30 minutes. Every night, ending this encounter, the fandango will begin in the same square. The fandango being music and dance. Today, its main economic support of the town is fishing and tourism, especially to the annual feast in honor of Our Lady Candlemas. The INAH and the Fondo Nacional para la Cultura y las Artes have worked to revitalize the city and improve the economy, particularly through tourism. So I think all those women over there were on the cleanup crew for the town. Because only a few months ago, the river that you saw at the beginning of the video had a pretty big flood. And the town was submerged in water. And from what I had read before coming to Mexico, when I was doing my research, it sounded like a pretty devastating flood. So I thought that coming here would be off the itinerary. But I was speaking to some people in Alvarado and they were recommending that I come here, even though I had read that a lot of people were forced to leave their homes and stuff like that. So, and I think I had even read that there was like some looting because of people had to leave their homes and stuff like that. So kind of sounded like a bad situation, but I mean, they managed to turn this place around, at least for the most part, in the streets I've walked so far, in really short order. So yeah, again, that lineup of ladies there sitting in the shade, I guess maybe they're part of the cleanup crew here for the town. And they've done a pretty amazing job considering what it sounded like the damages were. And we saw some guys painting the poles in the beginning of the video as well, so they're still not done, I guess, but pretty impressive stuff. But even though the look of the town seemed to have been almost fully restored, I couldn't help but sense that the feel of the town was missing or had been subtracted to some degree. In a typical Mexican town, there's a lot more people going on. I mean, even with the pandemic, most people don't work on the internet. They have shops or carts, and they go around selling produce or stuff. You see a lot more people in the streets, but here it seemed kind of eerily empty. So I really wanted to go ask some of the people if this was normal here.
Pues me da a veces una quincena. Una quincena me da, pero no te voy a decir que me da una semana.
Pasando ahorita, mira, acuérdate que años atrás, pues ahorita que venían las compañías y eso, y abundaba el trabajo.
Sí.
Pero de un tiempo para acá
Ya no.
se nos acabó todo eso.
¿Tú dices que no tiene mucho trabajo aquí?
No, no hay mucho trabajo.
Es después de la inundación, es muchas personas que llegaste de la Puebla o
Muchos se han ido de aquí, se han ido, pues se han ido a Estados Unidos y eso, a otros lugares,
okay.
a Veracruz, a diferentes lados
Después de la inundación o desde?
No, después de la inundación.
Sí, después de la inundación.
Después de la inundación. Sí, porque ya ahorita, como este pueblo aquí, pues el trabajo es la albañilería y la pesca. Y por la ganadería, porque tiene que son ganaderos, pues ellos no.
Eso no tiene que trabajar. ¿No?
Pero como uno que tiene que trabajar y eso, sí, porque después de la inundación mucha gente pues se fueron y ya no regresaron, ya se quedaron mejor por allá. Y ahorita con esto de la pandemia, pues peor también.
Menos turistas.
Menos turistas y trabajo también. Sí, todo eso.
Sí, como ahorita que viene la fiesta del mes de febrero, pues viene mucho turismo. Entonces ya el que pone su negocito y eso, pues ya tiene para defenderte, pero ya ahorita con esto de la pandemia, ya no, prácticamente tiene uno las manos amarradas porque no va a haber entrada, al menos los restaurantes,
los hoteles,
pues tienen entrada hay negocios, y uno pone un puestecito de taco por esos días y te va bien, pero ahorita con esto de la pandemia ya no va a haber fiesta, no va a haber entrada.
Okay.
¿Sí?
Some tough times for Tlacotalpan, who had endured not only a flood, but then the pandemic at the same time, which led to, as the two gentlemen were mentioning, a significant decrease in tourists and also just industries that they had aside from that were sustaining the town. So if ever you're in this part of Mexico, I definitely recommend you come check out and support this small pueblo mágico of Tlacotalpan in Veracruz. And if you're interested in Veracruz in general, on this channel I have other videos of places I've visited in Veracruz, including Jalapa, the city of Veracruz, Alvarado, and etc. And there'll be a link to the playlist for those videos in the description below this video. And if you enjoyed this tour and history of Tlacotalpan, please click the like button and or leave a comment to let me know what you thought about the video, and subscribe if you haven't already, and click the bell to be notified when new videos come out. This was my second time traveling through Mexico. The first time 3 years ago I bicycled through western and central Mexico, and there's also a video playlist that's linked in the description below the video. That was part of a larger trip where I bicycled through Latin America. I've also bicycled through Eastern Africa and Eastern Europe, including the Balkans and Turkey, and I have playlists for all those videos in all those countries on the same YouTube channel, Hum of the Earth. And if you'd like to see an interactive map of everywhere that I went and everything that I got to see and do, I have that available over on my website, followthehumoftheearth.com, where you can click on the different locations and see the various blog posts and videos that I've made of those places. And if you'd like to follow my continuing adventures through eastern Mexico and beyond, you can do so by clicking on the red subscribe button and clicking on the bell to be notified when new videos come out. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one.